Moon over Black Mountain Valley by Oliver Ferguson. When I think of the moon as it was back then, I only ever remember it being full over the valley. It would rise from behind Crog Ruath, the Black Mountain, beaming like a new sun. As it arched over the crooked valley and the village at its end, the silver light would stroke every corner of it. Not like the sunlight would, however. Sunlight brings everything to life at its touch, everything living bends towards it, and the valley would crane everything green in its direction, everything present. But the moonlight illuminates everything left from the past, everything that lives in memory alone, and especially those things that had no one around to remember them. The spirits of all that has happened and was never seen. These are what are pulled from the craggy rocks of the valley by the moonlight, like secret plants, while everything living sleeps. Confluence is a word that's important to this particular valley. The meeting of two things to make one thing. At the beginning of its memory were the glaciers that slowly met where the village now sits. Now the rivers Avon Earth and Avon Tanat meet there instead. Thomas was there when it happened, or so he would say in the village pub. Old enough to remember the thud as the ice collided right where we're sitting. That's what he would say at least. Old as the valley itself. The valleys in his face could prove it, everyone would joke. For one summer I briefly worked in that pub. I'd finished the evening's work, cleaning the counter and stacking the glasses behind the bar still warm from the dishwasher, and I'd walk the 3/4 of a mile up the road out of the village back home, the full moon lighting the path once the streetlights ended. Nothing to hear but the stream below me and the rumbling thoughts of the rocks all sat together up the mountain beside me. One summer evening, in the time between the sky going dark and the moon rising, a large peacock blocked my way. It looked at me and fanned out its tail. I went inside to tell my parents, but it was gone by the time I came back out. I seem to remember hearing it caw behind our house, somewhere up the Black Mountain. There had always been stories of a monster on the mountain. Perhaps time had become mixed up, and the valley in the past was remembering the valley in the future. No need to worry about monsters, however. Everyone knew that the valley was protected. At the confluence of Avon Earth and Avon Tanat, where the small rivers became a stronger one, lies Pennant Malangall, the little chapel nestled in the meeting point of two valleys. The chapel is at least 800 years old, but the shrine is over 1,000. The Lady Malangall protected the animals of the valley beneath her cloak there, her sanctity and purity keeping the hunting dogs away. An ancient Prince of Wales, chasing a hare on his horse, was so impressed by her that he forbade anyone to ever kill a hare in the valley again, and the valley kept its word from that day until this one. Perhaps the peacock had heard about this safe haven for animals and made its way to Ruath and the slopes of the Black Mountain. Perhaps other creatures heard about this protective magic as well. The moonlight draws out memories of stranger things than peacocks and spells. As the silver satellite passes over the tips of Cadair Berwyn and Cadair Bronwen, it seems to pull on the landscape with a kind of gravity stronger than the Earth's. Stand within its influence in the correct spots on the mountains, and the memories of the ferns and the grasses whispering up at the moon can be heard. Memories of nights looking out across the plains of the Berwyns, those flat marshy grasslands at the head of Cwm Ruath, the Ruath Valley. The plains extend out for untold miles, mist ever crawling across them. Since the earliest times, say the grasses and the ferns, they watched lonely travellers get lost on the Berwyns in that mist, which grew thicker the more lost the traveller became. Some memories tell of a great doorway made of light opening in the mist, offering a warm hall for the traveller to feast in, only to close up, its trap sprung, never to release them. Some memories are newer, but still tell of lights in the mist, coming down from the sky and shaking the earth as they landed. Strange thin figures from other worlds would walk among the bushes and heather before disappearing as men in black suits came to catch them. Listen to the memories of the other side of the mountain, however, and they will laugh at these Berwyn grasses as the other farmers laughed at Thomas in the pub. But the truth lies somewhere in the meeting of these two memories, in the confluence of their minds. The moon would continue over the valley, filling the gaping maws of old slate mines on the side of the valley in silvery pools. The mountain opposite my house looked like a sleeping dragon. The old mine made its huge nostrils. Once there was smoke rising from it, but it was nothing but a campfire at the mine's entrance. The shifting moonlight made the dragon look like it was breathing heavily in its sleep. I remember the moonlight flowing through my bedroom window, its feel on my face stranger than sunlight, but still comforting. It beams over my head as I sleep, and I dream about a man I had forgotten, but the moon had not. It seems to ask how he is, looking for news. I know that now he has died, however, and the moon sighs and moves on. I think more about him, that strange old farmer across from our house. The farmer who farmed nothing. His land stretched across the valley, and my friend and I had to cross it to get to the river. The first time he caught us, he waved his shotgun at us, yelling in Welsh to get off his land. He did that every time he saw me. Sometimes I would sneak quietly right through the middle of his farmyard just to see if I could. Every window in the house was broken and boarded up, and there was no grass, only mud. I could hear him in his barn, however, hammering and twisting and drilling something. What was he building? Maybe some machine he could use to come and find me in my home, where I thought I was safe from him. But before I could see, a dog would bark and I'd run away. Sometimes, as the sun was going down, I could hear something coughing, spluttering, grinding. The noise would come from the direction of the forbidden farm, and I'd whisper to the dragon across the valley to watch over my bedroom window while I slept, in case the farmer had managed to wake up his mechanical creature. One day, years later, during that summer in the pub as I poured another pint, I heard the men at the bar talking about how the farmer had died, and his family was selling the farm, as well as whatever he'd been building in the barn. I walked down there that evening for the first time in years and saw a clean car parked outside the house that clearly didn't belong in this muddy place, a town car. I peeked quickly into the barn and saw the wheezing creature the farmer had been building. A biplane, worn out and rusted, but new in parts, with an engine that glistened behind the propeller. It looked well tended and cared for in a way that the rest of the farm didn't. A dog barked again and I left quickly. But that night, I asked the dragon to watch over the barn this time, and make sure the biplane was kept safe from those that would sell it. Now I no longer live in the valley. I'm grown up and gone. The moon seems further away everywhere else than it did in that valley. Sometimes it drops little memories down to me that have clung to it during its nightly wander, and I know that the valley is still there, that the rocks haven't forgotten me, and I haven't forgotten them. There at the confluence of two rivers, two valleys, present and past, living and dead. These places in the world are the forges of myth, the secret home of the memories of the earth itself. Things that were forgotten or not remembered by human minds at all, but kept alive in the land and the air, waiting for the moon to draw the stories out like worms from the ground. When I think of the moon as it was back then, I only ever remember it being full over the valley.